This program was first broadcast on Canterbury's access media station, Plains FM, and was made with the assistance of New Zealand On Air.
It's time for Emergence News on Plains FM 96.9, citizen-made radio.
Kia ora and welcome, namaste, welcome to Emergence News. This program is dedicated to providing information regarding the emergence of Maitreya, the future world teacher, and also the Masters of Wisdom. My name is Nigel, and it's my pleasure to introduce you to today's program topic, which is the subject of overshadowing. And I thought I'd just give you the definition just to give you an idea of what we're going to be talking about. And the definition, according to author Benjamin Creme, is overshadowing is a voluntary cooperative process in which a master's consciousness temporarily enters and works through the physical, emotional and mental bodies of a disciple. And I'll bring you in now, Peter. Peter joins me on the program today. I think that's a fairly good definition of what we'll be talking about, actually.
Yes, it is, really. As we will come across the overshadowing of all of humanity on the day of declaration, we'll discuss that further, but almost without exception, a disciple needs to be on the path, as it were, to before a master can overshadow him. And
you'll be looking at not just the technology involved in overshadowing, but also some bit of history and also some examples from history.
That's right, yes. The examples are probably one of the easiest ways of sort of relating the subject in your head, isn't it? I mean, it's a good way of doing it.
The main source of information on this program is the Ageless Wisdom teachings, which are actually as old as humanity itself. These are the teachings of a group of men who have gone beyond the strictly human stage and have entered the next kingdom, the spiritual kingdom, also known as the kingdom of God or the kingdom of souls. Now, I thought I'd open this program by giving you some further insight into one of the key resources that we use, which is the Share International magazine. It's a monthly magazine that provides a clear voice of the new time coming. So here's some examples, and you might like to help me along here, Peter. Here are some examples of what the Share International magazine can provide you. The first one is up-to-date information about the emergence of Maitreya the World Teacher. The second example is there's always an article from a Master of Wisdom.
Yes, that's right.
That's through Benjamin Creme usually, isn't it?
Yes, that's right. I mean, he gave, there's so many of those, he had a master overshadow him for many, many years. And so he was able to more or less talk like you and I are talking to each other. And his consciousness was linked very closely with the master.
And speaking of Benjamin Creme, he we mention him as an author regularly, but he was also the previous founding editor of the magazine, Share International. And he, in every edition, he answers a wide variety of topical and esoteric questions. And that's actually quite good reading, isn't it?
Oh, it is, yeah, because people come up with some real doozies.
Some real doozies. The magazine always, and if you're a regular listener to this program, Emergence News, you'll be aware that we have articles and interviews with people at the forefront of progressive world change, and there are a number of contributors also from other publications and media. News from United Nations agencies and positive developments in the transformation of our world. And when we talk about articles and interviews from authors, we're talking about people such as Alice Bailey, Helena Roerich, and her husband, Nicholas Royrich. He features quite a bit, actually, in the magazine because he was a tremendous artist.
Yes, that's right. There's some great artwork there.
Krishnamurti, who we'll be talking about today, and our colleague John is well-versed on Krishnamurti. So it's a shame he's not with us today, but he's unwell. We wish you a speedy recovery, John. Also, a number of award-winning journalists and correspondents from across the globe contribute to the magazine. It really is, as I said, it's a monthly magazine, and it has a number of special features and colour photographs of signs and miracles that take place worldwide. Letters to the editor with questions and answers. Also updates and opinion from policymakers, economists and politicians. And there have been quite a few politicians over the years.
Oh, they have indeed.
Featured. There's a lot of progressive thinking politicians
That's right. I love the crop circles too that he puts in there. They're really great.
Definitely. There's also a monthly article from a senior member of the hierarchy of the Masters of Wisdom. We've mentioned that. Many of these features you're not going to find in any other magazine in the world. It's quite a unique publication in that regard. Share International magazine has offices in the UK, the Netherlands and America. And the magazine, as I said previously, is published in a variety of languages on a monthly basis. Unlike the majority of today's media, Share International magazine considers the entire world as a global village and all people as members of one human family. It gives you, the reader, factual information about the injustices that persist, yet balances it with the inspired thinking of influential people in all fields, just about every field you can think of, offering practical solutions being implemented by little-known people in villages and cities everywhere. The purpose of Emergence News, this radio program, and the Share International magazine is to inform you about the presence of Maitreya the World Teacher and his group, the Masters of Wisdom, as well as their priorities and teachings for the new time. The magazine also strives to raise public awareness of what is being done and still what needs to be done across the wide spectrum of human society, life on planet Earth. For more information about the magazine, you can visit the Share International website, which is shareinternational.org, or you can visit the Share International New Zealand website. So today's topic is overshadowing, and we'll talk about that with Peter in just a moment. This is Emergence News. My name is Nigel and my colleague Peter is with me today. We're both Share International co-workers here in Christchurch, New Zealand, Aotearoa. And today's topic, as I said earlier, is overshadowing. And this is a technique that Maitreya has used in the past. There is much reading material that supports the implementation of this practice, and we hope you enjoy this stimulating subject. And Peter, I'll hand it over to you. This should be interesting.
Okay, thanks, Nigel. Yes, well, overshadowing is a method of contact with a disciple, and it's been used by the masters for thousands of years, actually. The earliest I can find is Hermes overshadowing Mithra, but I think it was probably used during the Atlantean period, which lasted 12.5 million years, according to Madame Blavatsky. We know that the Christ overshadowed our beloved Jesus for the last 3 years of his life with his full assent and cooperation. The disciple generally needs to be 1.6 degrees initiate to be mentally focused and able to withstand the downflow of energy from the master. Krishnamurti had terrible migraines during the process, but Benjamin Krem says he was fully conscious and not too painful when Maitreya overshadowed him. Sometimes a headache, and he was overshadowed by Maitreya every time he gave a message, and we've recorded 140 of these messages. In fact, we use them in our meditation group Nigel, don't we?
Yes, and there's also a book published by Benjamin Creme with all
the messages.
With all those messages.
That's right. And he gives beautiful blessings at the end of each message. And the method he'd used here was to overshadow Benjamin Creme. And he actually uses his voice as well, but he alters the breathing and the heart rate of Benjamin Creme while he's doing it. And so his voice actually sounds quite different from Benjamin Creme's, doesn't it?
And it's a good example of that cooperative, that cooperation between the disciple and the master.
Yes, that's right.
Can I come in here just with another example
sure.
that I remember? Krishna, of course, the great avatar who appeared around 3000 BC. He served as the vehicle of manifestation for the Lord Maitreya during the age of Aries by demonstrating the need to control the astral emotional nature. Krishna opened the door to the second initiation. And of course, we'll be talking about that on a future program. Yeah. Hindus expect a new incarnation of Krishna at the end of the Dark Age. So Krishna is another example of being overshadowed by Maitreya.
Yeah, that's right, yes. Maitreya can do it to ordinary people like you and me, as he plans to do this on the day of declaration, where he's going to overshadow the whole of humanity over the age of 14. I mean, what a fantastic task to take on.
There must be others cooperating with Maitreya.
Oh yes, most definitely. I mean, not only does he have the full, all his disciples, the Masters of Wisdom, backing him up, but he has two great avatars to overshadow him. So the status of these two avatars is actually beyond our comprehension.
And one of them works specifically with the law of cause and effect, which is effectively the law that governs this planet and solar system.
That's right, yes.
So it's fairly heady stuff, isn't it?
Yes, I mean, the karma is one of our main correcting devices, isn't it? Yes. So, no, it's certainly going to be an amazing experience because, according to Benjamin Creme, he will be overshadowing the whole of humanity for something in the order of half an hour. And he will give a basic history, I suppose, of our planet. And, of course, our civilizations are much older than what the history normally shows, but he will show where we've come from and where we're headed. And we're heading for a fantastic new civilization. It's a bit hard to believe at the moment. Sometimes we sort of get a wee bit tied up in the negativity, but
well, the cupboard's been cleaned out at the moment.
Yeah,
hence the turmoil.
Yes, that's right,
and the upheaval of our time.
That's right, exactly.
Currently,
right.
but Maitreya assures us it won't remain like this. For too much longer.
No, indeed, it's going to be a new civilization in the wings, if you like. Also, the blessing that Maitreya gives out on the full moon festivals is an overshadowing of sorts, but we need to actually be tuned in for the full benefit of that. But the Sundays nearest the full moon, he gives a blessing on the whole world at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and it proceeds around the world as the 3 o'clock afternoon proceeds all around the world.
So those three festivals, that is May, June and July, isn't it? The full moon of those 3 months.
Well, yes, that's right. It's April with the
of course, Easter.
Easter, Aries full moon. Then the Taurus, which is the Wesak festival, and then the Christ festival, which is actually in Gemini. So that's how it all works. But I think he overshadows at the other full moons as well with a blessing. In transmission meditation, we hold our attention at the Ajna Center, while the Masters send energy through our chakras out into the world, wherever it is needed. The cosmic energy they use is a high frequency and would bounce off humanity. So a group of at least 3 people are needed to adjust this down to our level of receptiveness. Some of the other examples of overshadowing, Maitreya overshadowed Krishnamurti, and he said he had terrible migraines during this process. It just affects people differently, I guess. Benjamin Creme said he was fully conscious and it was not too painful when Maitreya overshadowed him. But
it's a good example of every human being different.
That's exactly right. And I think Benjamin made the comment that the physical body of Krishnamurti was 7th ray, and he had a sub-ray of 7 as well, and particularly sensitive to that sort of energy.
And also Krishnamurti and the process of being overshadowed by Maitreya, it's one of the best documented examples from the last century, isn't it?
Yes. Yes.
There's a number of books that cover the subject, written by Krishnamurti himself, but also a number of theosophists.
Yes, yeah, that's true, yes. I mean, it's a fascinating story, so I advise listeners to have a look at it at some time. It's quite remarkable. So Jesus, of course, overshadowed Muhammad, and Muhammad thought it was the Archangel Gabriel. So it's interesting. I don't know whether we're going to have any Muslims actually agree with this, but this is from the horse's mouth, as it were. So he also overshadowed Murdo MacDonald Bain, and he wrote books. And I remember reading this Beyond the Himalayas, absolutely fascinating book. Have you read them, Nigel? And also The Yoga of the Christ, he wrote. So he was overshadowed as well. And Helena Rorak was overshadowed by Katumi.
That's right.
And also the Master Moira.
Agni Yogi teachings.
Yes, that's right. And that's the sort of the Ray 1 teachings, the will of God, if you like. So they're very strong, very powerful. And Alice Bailey was overshadowed by D.K., who dictated 19 books to her, and many more for the masters to work through the advanced disciples and ordinary folk.
Now that master is featured in the Share International magazine regularly too.
Yes.
The master D.K., he's often referred to as the Tibetan.
That's right. Yes, he is. Yes, he was considered to be one of the youngest masters. I don't know whether that's still true today. These are probably a whole lot of other younger ones come on.
Yeah, and they all have different portfolios. And I noticed that the Tibetan often referred to himself as it's his job to help impart this information, the ageless wisdom teachings, to
That's
humanity.
Right. Yes.
And through Alice Bailey, I thought he did that the two of them did a splendid job, and true cooperation there.
That's
because
right.
Alice Bailey, near the end of her life, was going through an enormous level of physical discomfort, not because of the overshadowing, but just through personal physical health issues.
Right, yes.
And in fact, Blavatsky was similar.
Yes, that's right. Well, she was, a fourth degree initiate, and often they do have burning up karma time, don't they?
That's right.
And it's often a bit painful. So you can see that this overshadowing method has been used for absolutely thousands of years, and it's interesting to find a little bit about it. We haven't got a lot of information on it, but it's used by the masters whenever they have the opportunity with a disciple. It's sort of proving to be possibly useful.
And of course, the externalization of the masters, the spiritual hierarchy, it's the first time that they're going to be walking amongst us for close to 100,000 years.
That's right, yes.
The Christ, Lord Maitreya, and his disciples, the masters, are going to be physically present for the whole of the age of Aquarius. Now, that's amazing. That means for the next 2,500 years,
exactly, yeah.
They're going to be aiding humanity to evolve in peace, freedom and justice. So it's an extraordinary opportunity, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And
that's provided to all of us. We've all got the opportunity to serve the world, in fact, helping to create new structures in whatever department of life calls us. And we're all different. As we said, we're all different human beings. We all have different skill sets. And it doesn't have to be spiritual. It can be in the field of economics or politics.
Exactly. In fact, it is a major focus by Maitreya in the economic field because, unless we get the economics right, it's hard to feed the starving millions, isn't it?
And we have to get the politics right. And isn't it interesting that it's politics and economics? Those are the two structures on the planet right now that seem to be breaking down before our eyes. Look at the UK right now.
Yeah. Yes, they say it's pretty chaotic there. And it's the last letter from Shafir, who used to be on our radio program.
Yes.
Said it was rather chaotic.
All right, thanks, Peter. We'll be back with more on Emergence News in just a moment.
We want to talk about the seventh ray energy, which is the age of Aquarius, of course. And we're going to be running in this Ray 7 in our next program. So I'm just going to give a little bit of preliminary information here because it's interesting that the first initiation is closely related to the problem. And the seventh ray governs the sacral centre and the sublimation of its energy into the throat or into the higher creative centre. This ray is therefore setting in motion a period of tremendous creative activity, both on the material plane through the stimulation of the sex life of all people, and in the three worlds through the stimulation brought about when soul and form are consciously related. The first major proof that humanity, through the medium of the majority of its advanced people, has undergone the first initiation will be the appearance of a cycle of entirely new creative art. I thought that was particularly interesting, Nigel, because, we're talking about the art coming in, the Ray 4 particularly, which stimulates art. And music. Coming in around 2025, which is only a couple of years away, really, isn't it? And it just shows you this Ray 7 actually is going to be stimulating the creative art as well. So this creative urge will take forms which will express the new incoming energies, just as the period governed by the sixth ray has culminated in a world wherein men work in great workshops and factories to produce all the objects that we deemed that we need for happiness and well-being. Well, that's, we're going to have to relook at that, aren't we? Because we overproduce so much now in this world today. We're wasting materials. So in the seventh ray cycle, we shall see men engaged on an even larger scale in the field of creative art. Devotion to objects will eventually be superseded by the creation of that which will more truly express the real. Ugliness and materiality will give place to beauty and reality. On a large scale, humanity has already been led from darkness to light, and the light of knowledge fills the land. In the period which lies ahead and under the influencing radiation of the seventh ray, humanity will be led from the unreal to the real. This is the first initiation made possible for the individual and will make possible for the mass of men.
Good mahi, Peter. And we look forward to the next edition of Emergence News, where it's on the subject of evolution.
Actually, yep.
And we'll be talking about the 5 steps of initiation.
That's right, yes, and particularly the first 2 initiations, because the other ones are sort of a long way off, but humanity, we're going to be millions actually that take the first initiation in the coming period.
So there's a taster of what's to come on the next edition of Emergence News. We'll see you then.
All this information can be found on the Share International website, www.share-international.org, and also don't forget the podcasts, which are available on the Plains FM website.
We welcome your comments, questions and feedback. Please contact us at emergencenews@gmail.com.